Welcome back to Films Recapped. Today I will show you a comedy, crime, action film from 2012, called 21 Jump Street. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and enjoy. The nerd of the school, Morton Schmidt, never asks his longtime love to the prom. The school's jock, Greg Jenko, is prohibited from attending prom because of his bad grades. Not attending prom is the only thing they have in common. After 7 years, at the police academy, Schmidt and Jenko cross paths once more. With Schmidt's help, Jenko studies more and Jenko inspiring Schmidt to work out. They become friends and make up for each other's shortcomings. They graduate together but are put on park patrol, which is a position with a lot of boring tasks. They come across several motorcyclists who are smoking kush. They approach them by motorcycle and inspect their possessions, discovering an illicit substance. While several of them flee, Jenko is able to catch one and handcuff him. They enjoy themselves, perhaps a little too much, after their first arrest. Jenko neglected to read him his Miranda rights, so the cops had to let him go. The two are then sent to a reactivated special squad at 21 Jump Street due to their immaturity. They are brought to Captain Dixon in a Korean church, a cheap hiding place, and he says that the department specializes in infiltrating high schools and that they were picked because of their youthful appearance. There are two rules. First of all, they cannot be expelled, and secondly, they cannot form connections with students. He refers to Jenko's comments about their appearance, not Schmidt's. The two are summoned to Dixon's office. Schmidt and Jenko's former high school is where a new synthetic narcotic called HFS candy is being sold, and they have been tasked with tracking down the supplier and infiltrating the sellers to prevent the substance from spreading to other campuses. Their new cover identities as brothers are revealed to them. They live at Schmidt's parents' house for the duration of the undercover operation. In front of Jenko, his parents truly make him look bad. Schmidt peruses the school yearbook in his room as he reflects on Jenko's popularity and his own lack of it. Jenko begins coaching Schmidt in the morning on how to be cool, including how to strap his backpack, not try too hard, make fun of others, how to be attractive, and how to drive a nice car. When they get to the school, they park in the space designated for those with disabilities. Schmidt swiftly gives in to peer pressure and begins to strap his backpack, and they notice that their high school has changed. When they get close to one of the groups, Jenko attempts to appear arrogant and makes fun of Eric and one of the kids. When the student goes up to him, Jenko hits him for no reason. It turns out he's gay, and Jenko is already under fire for homophobia. They are informed in the principal's office that the principal is on the verge of a nervous breakdown as a result of a recent student overdose and that they will be expelled if they enter his office once more. Jenko mistakenly switches their identities when the principal asks who of them is Doug, his covert identity, and they end up in each other's classrooms. Schmidt is enrolled in theater class, and Jenko is taking AP chemistry. Schmidt makes a connection with Molly, a girl he has his eyes on, in his class, and quickly learns how to obtain the candy. The teacher invites him to an audition for the role of Peter Pan as a result of their conversation. After utterly failing at this, he gets a text from the number written on the bench and leaves. Jenko is in chemistry and is evidently uncomfortable there. When the teacher gives them a pop quiz, she remarks on how gorgeous Jenko is. He chooses the answers at random because he is not the smartest pupil. She stutters as the teacher checks his chest. Test. Schmidt texts him to meet. They proceed to Eric's seat in the dealing room. Eric has his doubts about the pair because they act incredibly suspicious and also appear to be in their 40s. Eric tells them to take the candy in front of him to show that they are not hiding anything. They hesitate, but because this is his demand, they accept. They make an effort to throw up, but they are unable to do so. They plan to finger each other's mouths, but ultimately fail and choose to return to their classes, claiming that they are feeling nothing at all. When they walking to class, the PE teacher approaches them, and he remarks on Jenko's muscles and that he read his dossier, predicting that he will be a star on the track. Due to the confusion of names earlier, Schmidt is the track star. Schmidt begins to speak as the candy begins to work. First phase is laughing. In the second phase, the guys are tripping hard while the teacher is speaking. They have no understanding what is happening. When he questions them if they are high, they outright deny it, and he believes them. In chemistry class, Jenko has been attempting to explain an equation while continuously writing the number 4. The candy is currently at its overconfident phase. Everyone is amazed when Schmidt enters the theater class and begins his performance since it is so wonderful. He receives the Peter Pan part when Molly approves of it and the teacher warmly welcomes him. When you are powerless over your activities, you are in the 4th phase. Jenko enters to disrupt the musical practice. Schmidt seems confident. When the baton is passed to him with a commanding lead, he quickly loses the lead and the teacher is enraged. Schmidt is clearly having a great time. The 5th phase is sleepiness. Eric likes Schmidt because of the mistakes made at the track meet. Jenko doesn't understand why all the nerdy stuff is now fashionable. Dixon is not pleased when the pair shares their results with him because their goal is to infiltrate the dealers and locate the supplier, and their board strategy is meaningless. Jenko tries to sneak into chemistry class at school. Although they are actually playing Bakugan, he believes they are making candy. He makes friends with the nerds there, who offer to tutor Jenko. Schmidt claims to Jenko that he would have been the popular child in school if he had been born 10 years later. He views the situation favorably because it means that he can finally sit among the popular kids and act cool. They devise a strategy for breaking apart. Jenko hesitantly accepts as Schmidt infiltrates the popular students and Jenko infiltrates the geeks. Schmidt calls Molly next evening to talk to her again, but his mother answers the phone and embarrasses him by cutting them off. This is amusing to Molly, and they begin discussing their parents. Shortly after, Jenko enters and begins tormenting him while he is on the phone. Eventually, Schmidt succeeds in getting Molly invited to a party they are having the next week. Molly relished the phone call. When Dixon learns they are throwing a party via Twitter, the pair rejects it. He threatens to put his foot up their butts if they sell booze to kids. Schmidt arranges for his parents to go on vacation. They pick up a block of cannabis from the evidence room and purchase 2 shopping carts worth of alcohol while joking they aren't old enough to buy it. A little while later, the room is packed with people as they toast to a great party. Eric and Molly show up. With the aid of his new friends, Jenko steals Eric's phone and installs spyware on it. Eric expresses to Schmidt his distaste for his brother. Schmidt gives the guests a tour of his home as Jenko and his intoxicated friends tamper with the phone. Some losers from another school enter and begins fooling around with Eric about handing out candy. Schmidt steps in and attempts to protect Eric. When Jenko hears that he has been punched, he enters the room. Everything immediately spirals out of control, and everyone begins to fight. Schmidt is just being Schmidt while Jenko is doing the majority of the fighting. They rejoice when the douchebag group is defeated, and Jenko is able to smuggle the phone back into Eric's pocket. Schmidt is praised by everyone, but when it is revealed that he was stabbed, the gathering rapidly falls silent. He simply exclaims, "That's awesome." And everyone cheers. They succeed in removing the dagger and fire a few more times to dull the pain. Schmidt is able to connect with Eric and Molly, and he begins to feel like he has known them forever. Schmidt's parents are traveling home in their car because his mother left her phone at home. When Schmidt's parents enter, they yell at everyone to leave. Eric tells Schmidt that this is the greatest party he's ever attended, and he agrees to do whatever it takes to make some quick cash. The parents lecture the boys. The two visit a shooting range to unwind. Eric's phone was tapped and Jenko confesses, but his Schmidt doesn't like it because he's grown to appreciate Eric. In order to make it appear as though he sold the entire lot, Eric offers him candy, which he then hands to Dixon. Jenko enjoys the experiments the nerd club conducts as he grows closer to them. Schmidt and Jenko grow farther apart. When Schmidt pays a visit to Eric, Molly gives him a hug before kissing him. When Jenko and the boys turn on Eric's phone's spy software, they can hear Schmidt and Molly conversing. She urges him to exercise caution in the candy industry since she doesn't want him to get into problems because he's a good person. They discuss prom, and in an apparent reference to Schmidt, Molly says she's not sure about prom but might go if someone fun invited her. She accepts his invitation to the prom as he reflects on his mistakes from high school. He bails from giving her a kiss and instead shakes her hand. When the other members of the group arrive, they start asking questions about his sibling and why they are so dissimilar. Jenko, who is still listening, is deeply offended when Schmidt tells them that he is adopted and that he is stupid. Later, Jenko is unhappy with Schmidt and they are approached by other undercover agents who inform them that their candy has already spread to other universities. Dixon is frustrated with their ineffectiveness. He is informed by Jenko that he eavesdropped on Eric's call and overheard him talking about piñata. Jenko lies when Schmidt asks him whether that was all he heard from Eric's phone yesterday outside. Molly admits to Schmidt that he is the only person she can trust before the show. In chemistry class, Jenko is presenting his assignment when he spots Eric's pals chasing after a piñata. Just before heading on the set, he hurries off and calls Schmidt, who promises to return the call as soon as he can. They enter the vehicle but are unable to exit because of parking fines. When they subsequently observe Eric handing a piñata to a motorcycle group they saw in the park that got them this job, they take a student driver's vehicle. They start to argue and follow them. When one of the bikers is rammed by their car, he gets on their car in a frenzy because they wrecked his bike. The bikers pursue them as they pass them and proceed through a red light. On the way, they drive between many cars. One of the riders crashes into a semi-gas tank. They brace for impact, but nothing occurs. A second biker crashes into a truck carrying chickens that has a fuel leak. That one explodes. While this is happening, back at school Molly worries that Schmidt won't make it to the play. When the group gets to school, Jenko accuses Schmidt of ruining everything because he is too emotionally invested in the situation. Even though the play has already begun, Schmidt continues on and humiliates Molly. He then switches roles with his replacement forcibly and takes off. Just then, Jenko enters and leaps on Schmidt because he thinks Schmidt called him a fool. When Jenko stumbles, Molly tells Schmidt she will never speak to him again. The crowd is riveted as the two continue to argue, believing it to be a part of the performance. When Schmidt sprinkles some fairy dust, Jenko immediately acknowledges that he overheard all he had discussed with Molly the previous evening. As the principal enters the room, she informs them that they are expelled. Dixon fires them because he is so frustrated. Jenko leaves and tells Schmidt that he genuinely believed them to be brothers and that he would have died for him. When Eric stops his car, he motions for them to get in. Eric mentions that he's been terrified since the cops followed him yesterday as they make their way to a remote area. He doesn't want to go to prison as he has a full-ride scholarship and a pretty face. Eric offers them weapons and asks them to assist with a candy transaction that is taking place all at once with prom. It's time for them to go back to work, and they prepare for prom. They get dressed up, stock up on guns, do some housekeeping, and just before going out, they partially reconcile. Together with Jenko's new friends, they attend the prom. Before joining Eric to the meeting with the supplier, Schmidt meets Molly, who is high, and informs her of his true identity and that he is a police officer. He then begs her to leave. It comes out that the PE teacher is the supplier. Jenko's friends are gathering information in the restroom. They meet up with the motorcycle gang, who are their new potential customers. At first, the gang leader does not recognize them, but remarks that Schmidt looks familiar. Molly uses the fourth phase of the candy to bang on the door. She is furious and screams at Schmidt about being an officer. Then, the leader discovers it as well. While guns were pointed at both parties, Eric is disappointed that Schmidt lied to him. Eric gets knocked out and Molly storms in and is taken captive but shortly passes out. When one of the motorcyclists approaches them to fire, the two drop their weapons, but it turns out that he and another man are the DEA. When the agents inform them that they have just damaged a 5-year operation, the duo is relieved. Despite this, they strike up a cordial chat. However, as soon as it is revealed that they are both from the Jump Street division, a shootout starts. In these circumstances, Schmidt is not the most helpful person. The group pursues Eric and the PE teacher as they flee with the money, at which time the pair get in their car and pursue them. After a shootout that starts a limo chase, Jenko creates a battery cocktail using chemistry principles he learned and dumps it into the biker's limo, setting it off twice. They confront the PE teacher who has kidnapped Molly. He begins to shoot at Schmidt, but Jenko deflects one of the bullets for him. After Molly escapes the teacher's hands, Schmidt shoots his manhood. He is both arrested and has his Miranda rights explained to him. Now that they have truly made up, they refer to one another as their best friend. Molly kisses Schmidt after he apologizes and tells her that she deserves better. Captain Dixon tells them they are rehired as agents and informs them that for their next assignment, they are going to college. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.